Welcome back, friends. I hope that you are enjoying this series of these smaller, simpler paintings, approaching them with no plan at all, just simply for the love of the process. As always, you can check out the video description below for the list of materials and colors that I've used today, but you're also more than welcome to grab any random opaque color and any random transparent color and get painting with me. Now let's get started. All right, we are back with another one. Again, this is a 6 by 8 inch sheet of black canvas. Size, color, shape, type of canvas doesn't matter. Whatever you have, whatever you like. I do like to start with a black base because it helps me with the shadows later on. You can paint it black with gesso or paint if you like. Today we're gonna get crazy. I don't know, these colors may not work out real well, but I've got my Payne's Gray again. As always, you can use Mars Black if you like. Today, my opaque color is Titan Mars Pale by Golden. So it's kind of a peachy orange color. And this is Golden's Green Gold, and it's very transparent. So orange and green, I thought this would be kind of a daring one. So we'll see how it turns out. And again, I'm going to start with my number 8 Filbert. I wet it in my jar and I'm going to dry it off on my towel. So let's start with our opaque color. So just a little bit of medium. I know this color is pretty opaque. And I want it to be a little bit transparent in this first layer. And we'll start getting our shape. I want to break it up a little bit and make these shapes a bit different than some of the other ones that we've done. Maybe we'll, I don't know. Let's see how it, maybe let's keep the sky kind of high for right now. Let's see how that works out. Remember, you want to dry each layer completely before moving on to your next layers. Just fiddling with shape here, nothing else. I'm not planning anything. I'm not trying to create a road or a river or trees or anything. I'm just kind of playing with the composition, you know, looking at the overall shape and seeing what I can do with that. All right, let's go ahead and dry that. Okay, that's dry, and I think I'm gonna do just a little bit more, same color, just a hint of medium. Just trying to build up a bit of body into this sky. Okay, that's good. Going to my number 6 now. I wet it and dried it off on my towel. And I'm gonna get a little bit of medium and some Payne's Gray. Remember, if you're using Mars Black instead, just use a tiny bit more medium because Mars Black is so much more opaque than Payne's Gray. And we don't want to completely obliterate anything that the Payne's Gray touches. Just gonna kind of reinforce the shadows and find some shapes in here. I like how my brush strokes here were all kind of moving this way, so it's giving a bit of a windswept feel. I might try and play with that and pull that idea out a little bit more. If you're afraid to overlap anything, then things are going to get weird and really tight and coloring book looking very quickly. Don't be afraid to go over top of that color. It's the layering of those colors, the way they mix together visually like that, that's going to help create a really interesting look. And I don't know where I'm going with this yet, so I'm giving myself some options. All right, we're dry. I'm going back to my number 8, get some medium, and I'm going to go into the green gold. Always starting at the bottom. I'm going to get a little bit more wild with it this time, I think, than previously. A little bit of medium. I didn't pick up any more paint, just medium. There. That green gold is such a pleasing color, isn't it? It's so gorgeous. And remember that these are studies. Number 6, little medium, and my Naples. It's not Naples, it's Titan Mars. Anyway, remember that these are studies. So a study is not a completed painting. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to kind of get the idea down that you're going for so that you can come back to it at another time and use it for something else. Now that doesn't mean that a study can't be beautiful, that a study can't be a saleable painting or, you know, worthwhile on its own. It just means don't approach it with the idea of, okay, I have to make this beautiful painting today. It has to look like this or it has to look like this. Take those ideas that you have of, you know, how you want the painting to look. Get the gist of it down. Explore your techniques, your compositions, your colors, all of those things. Just picked up a point of medium just to kind of smooth some of this out. Take all of those things and explore them, and then when you're confident with it, when you say, yes, this is basically what I want out of this painting. I like these colors. I like this composition. I like all of these things. Then develop it into a whole painting. I'm just picking up bits of medium because I have paint on my brush still. I don't want to obliterate anything. I'm just getting some of that smoky feeling down into here. I'm starting to kind of get an idea of how this painting is going to be set up, what's going to be going on in here. A little bit of an idea. Glazing technique like I'm doing. It's a really fun way to build subtle shadows and highlights. So I loved the color and everything of this shape. I like that it's darker here. It feels heavy, like a bush sitting on the ground. And the color here kind of felt like there was light glowing through. So why am I painting over that? I'm painting over it to reinforce that. Notice I didn't take this smoky color all the way down into the darkest area, but I am going over the top of this a bit because when I come back and glaze again with that green, this is going to pop forward even more. It's going to reinforce that idea that I had. I want to get a hint of that going on in here. This is a very dark shape. Back to my number 6, medium and Payne's gray. Let's play with the shadows. We want to make sure that we don't lose our shadows. Like I said, I like this shadow here. So I'm going to keep that. Nice and dark, feels like a bush sitting on the ground. Overlapping the little highlighted area. Maybe this is like a path that's kind of coming around this way. This needs some weight to it if it's going to feel like trees or something sitting there. Deepen that up a bit. Maybe let's get like a tree going right here. So again, I like to do a little push up into the bristles thing. Gives me a bit more of an organic shape. It doesn't do real well for filling in that shape, but I get nice edges and a nice shape. There, we'll fill it in a little. I just picked up a different brush. This is my number 6 round. Same thing, matte medium, Payne's gray. And I'm going to break that up a little. I'm going to push up. Just give it some little character bits off to the side here. Little scrubby bits. That feels almost like rocks right there, doesn't it? Yeah, let's get creative with our brushwork. Because remember, using your brush in different ways to how you would typically use it gives you looks that you really can't get any other way. So I'm going to put my brush flat on here and just kind of flick. It's a full brush scrub. And yeah, it might take the point off of your brush, but you know, if you find that you require a lot of precision work, then just keep 2 brushes around. You know, have a puffy one and have a precise one. I don't do a ton of precision work, but I do have a couple of brushes that I use when I need precision. I'm just deepening the color in here. I don't want to make those lines harder. A little medium. Just bring that out into the light a bit. And I'm not worried. If any of this looks like junk, and it kind of, there's some bits that I'm not in love with, they're going to be gone. They're going to be covered up. I can be very selective in my next layers, cover up things I really don't like and allow things that I do like to stay a bit. Kind of liking the personality of this tree. I feel like I'm going to want to pull that forward a little bit more, but not all at once. If I pull this tree forward completely now, it's going to feel kind of floaty, like it's sitting on top of everything. I want it to be enveloped in the scene, part of the scene. I want the sky to appear mixed in with the tree and the tree mixed in with the bushes. And I don't want anything to feel, you know, slapped on top of something else. And I know things feel kind of slapped on top of each other right now, but we're not done. So more medium, more green. Starting at the bottom. It might be selective here. I'm not gonna just fill in everything. see how that bush is back now? And let's just get some more medium so we can just get a flavor of that green throughout here. I decided there was one thing I wanted to do before we move on to do the sky color again. So I've got my number 4 Filbert here. I'm going to grab a little blob of Payne's Gray, drop it there, bring a drip of water over from my jar, and mix it in with that little blob of paint. I might need a little bit more than that. I want it so it just starts to run. There we go. I just love flicks. I feel like it just it can make things look so much more organic and intentional, which I know is strange, being that this is a very unintentional looking thing, but I feel like it helps. Back to my number 6, medium, and my opaque color. And let's build up this sky a bit. Just using the side of my brush so I can be very gentle, very deliberate in my placement. I can lay down a bunch of paint by just pressing flat like that, but then up onto the side to break it up a bit. Not avoiding anything. Right over top of that tree branch. We did some negative painting in the last video, and I think we have some opportunities here for some more negative paintings. So we'll start off a bit, but we'll come back and do more negative painting, I think. So remember, negative painting is describing an element in your painting by painting around it. So I'm saying, oh, look, here's where this tree is, by painting the space around the tree. And I know that when I come back and glaze, all of that I'm laying down right now is going to be green. And it's going to feel like the foliage behind the tree glowing through. And like that big black splotch. We'll lead our viewer in maybe with some highlights on some rocks here. Maybe just a little bit on the trail there. Maybe there'll be another rock catching some highlight in here. But I want to feel like this little clearing is really where we want to hang out. We want to sit here and kind of glance up into here. All of this peach that I'm putting down is pretty transparent, pretty soft. But again, just like I was telling you before, because I paint this way a lot, I can think a couple steps ahead. So my intention with putting these really pale peach marks that I know look awkward. They look seriously weird. But I know that they're going to come forward and take on a really interesting life when I do my next green glaze. Let's just get a little bit more of this intense peach going on up here. So all very intentional here. We go from at the beginning to next to no intention to at the end. Every brush stroke is very intentional. We'll get some areas of brightening opportunity in here. I feel like I need some splatters here as well. So a little blop of my orange, little drip of water. Mix it until it just starts to run. And I want it to feel like the light is shining this way, and maybe it's reflecting on bugs or pollen or, you know, little motes of things flying through the air. I'll get some very small, intentionally ones down here. It's all about intention. I'm trying very hard to be very mindful in my life and, you know, give myself the opportunity to work without intention, like we do at the beginning here, but bringing things around to a very intentional space. That's my woo-woo talk for the day. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm really excited about how this painting's turning out. Back to my number 8, let's do some glazing with our green, a good amount of medium. I want to really control this green this time, so I'm just getting a little bit of it. Very, very transparent. And I'm going to be very deliberate. Right here, I want that to feel like light glowing through some bushes. I will probably come back and deepen most of that, but that's a good start. Just lightly pull a bit of that out here. I love to not be able to tell where one element stops and the next element begins. You know, where does this bush end and the sky begin? Who knows? Doesn't matter. Yeah, let's get just a little bit of a heavier concentration of that color into some of these areas around the tree. Really deepen that light. So I was pretty sure I was making a mistake with this one, with these colors, but oh man, I'm really enjoying it. Back to my number 6 round, some matte medium, some Payne's gray. We're gonna start doing some details. I want to pull this tree out just a little bit more. I'm not going all the way to the edge though. That's gonna help it seem like it's round. If this area is very, very dark, but the edges are almost fogged out, it'll just help it feel a little bit enveloped in mist. And I think I will put some highlights on it. Ooh, yeah, I like that. Almost feels like there might be another little tree in here. Very transparent, that paint I used. That will dry very transparent. If you're newer to painting, don't be intimidated if you're watching these videos and you're thinking, oh, I could never do that. You can do it. This is, I think it's a little bit more of an advanced way of painting, but that doesn't mean that you have to, you know, have gone through the simple ways of painting first. Sometimes I think that learning how to paint very simply to start with can almost handicap you in a way, because sometimes, and I have definitely done this myself, so I'm not pointing fingers at anyone, but sometimes beginner lessons teach you bad habits. They teach you things that are habits you're going to want to break as your career goes on. As you become a more proficient artist, you're going to realize, oh, why do I do that way? That is so hard to do. It doesn't look right. It's not the right thing to do. I'm just creating little grasses here, I think. And so I don't know why we as teachers, myself included, like I said, why we do that, why we insist on teaching some things that are not ways that you really want to paint. So it's okay to come to a more advanced lesson as a beginner and pick up those better habits in the first place. Just bypass all of the bad habits. Just working on deepening some of these shadows, creating a little bit of detail. Breaking up the ground here. If we've got rocks and stuff and light shining on the ground, then we've also got shadows. Where there's light, there's shadows. Bright light creates dark shadows. So don't be afraid to get those shadows nice and dark. If you just have a big white blur down here, it's going to compete with the sky. It's not going to be believable. But like here where I've got this lighter colored shape kind of in an arc, so I'm going to say that's a rock and anchor it to the ground with a shadow at the base. I'm looking for those opportunities. Like here, I like this shape, but it looks kind of forced because of that line. So we'll just break that line up. If there's light shining on it, it probably wouldn't hit it on the side over here, so we'll give it a little shadow. I'm going to go to my long liner. It's got a little extra water on it. Remember that when you use a long liner, you need a little extra water because they don't hold a ton of paint and they're not very strong. But I am going to put some medium in it because I want this to be pretty transparent. See that? Pretty dang transparent. I'm going to pull some of these branches back out. Remember that if your branch is sitting in front of a really bright light source, it's going to be pale because that light source is shining behind it and kind of making it so it's hard for your eye to land on it and focus on it too much. I liked what I did in the last painting with the little leaves. Maybe we'll add a few of those here too. I'm just really going to sketch this up. Make it look like there's probably something really tangly and messy going on in here. Lots of old twisty tree branches. And in here too. See, don't be afraid to scribble. Even with what's typically considered a precision tool like a long liner. Be messy, get in there. And we'll have a few of those up in here. And some little grasses. I'll come back and add some more little grasses with the peach color. Back to my number 6, just a little bit of medium and into my opaque. Not a lot of paint on my brush though, I kind of rolled a bunch of it off. Let's pop some details in here. We'll find, maybe there's like, okay, I like to do this. Just dip into the medium. I've got just like a little ball of medium. It just keeps the brush stroke from being so stark. It looks like there's a rock here. So we're just gonna kind of pull like a highlight on that rock. And it looks a lot brighter than I think it is because the medium is also white when it dries. So we'll see what happens once it's dry. Just keep doing that. Get a little bit of your paint, a little ball of medium. And don't judge how bright it is just yet, because you don't really know. Maybe it won't be bright enough, but that's okay, because then we can come back and add more. I want some nice bright things going on in here. Just medium. That might be a bit much medium. I think that's mostly applying medium at this point, but that's okay. Let's get a little highlight on our tree. So again, just picking up the medium. And I don't want to get too crazy with this tree. I don't want a lot of highlight on it. I'm just gonna get some of that and then dab it out with my finger rather than using my brush to do it. The brush is going to give me very specific looking lines. My finger is going to wipe bits away and give me a little bit more of that energetic, organic type look. Back up into the sky. A bit of this color. Make it look like it's really dappling through some of this green. Just kind of adding like little blobs. Yeah, right there, that makes it look really bright coming through there. A little bit of medium. I'll do some negative painting. I like to do this with these random colors that I wouldn't normally think to use together because it gives me a little bit more experience with colors that I don't use a lot of. And sometimes when that happens, sometimes it doesn't turn out great. I was fully prepared for this one not to turn out great. But sometimes it turns out so good, the colors that you used become colors that you now standardly use. And like I said, if this turns out garbage, it's not the end of the world. It doesn't matter. And let's negative paint around some of these branches just a little bit. They're still very faint, but this one ended up being a little more cheerful than I expected. I like that. Okay, I am just about done here. I know that. I'm gonna stick with my number 6 round, some medium, a bit of green. Need to define where this tree is as compared to the background, so I'm just glazing around it a bit. And on the ground, we're going to need a little bit more glazing. Not all of it. I think I will put just a hint of a glaze on the tree. It just feels a little floaty. So this is a very pale glaze, if you can see that. At this point, it's all just back and forth, just making adjustments. I do feel like, however, that I'm starting to spend too much time on this. I'm loving the way that it's looking, and because of that, I'm spending a lot of time on it and trying to make it like a really nice painting, when really I just need to accept it for what it is and stop so that I have the energy to come back to it later on a different, like a larger canvas, and turn it into a full scale painting. So I need to stop. I have one more thing I want to do. All right, my number 6, I'm gonna load up with medium, lots of medium, lots and lots. I'm gonna get the tiniest point of my opaque color. So it's just very, very, very transparent. And I think I'm gonna come from here. I'm gonna take a cue. I like this splatter here. Just a hint of some light rays or something. Maybe let's intensify it just a little bit. I just added a tiny bit more paint to that. I'm not going to pull this brighter color down as far though. a tiny bit more. Oh my gosh, I really need to stop. I am in love, love, love. See what you can learn when you tell yourself it's all right to do something that might be bad. It's all right to use colors that might be gross together. I know I said it was done, but I feel like it just needs just pure opaque color right there where this light is hitting the strongest.